All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Viveras, and I am a program manager for Polaris MEP, the nonprofit to Rhode Island manufacturing companies. No matter what manufacturer we talk to, or even what industry segment, everyone right now is worried about workforce challenges, specifically finding new workers. So how do we make sure that the skilled workers that we already have are not walking out our doors? How do we make sure that we get the most of our teams every day? And, today our session is going to offer some strategies and potential funding solutions to these common and urgent problems. Retention is critical to successfully make it through the current workforce crisis and becoming more resilient. Today, we'll talk briefly about the reality of today's labor market, address a few strategies for retention and going deep into one of them. And then we'll talk about how to improve your development ROI. We'll be moving quickly because there's a lot to cover. So please use the Zoom chat feature to pose any of your questions. And if we can't address one of them today, we will try to follow up with you personally afterwards. You'll be hearing from our workforce expert, Lindsay Brickle of Polaris MEP, and also a leading provider of online training for the manufacturing sector, Greg Sertman of ToolingU, as well as myself. Polaris MEP's sole mission is to help small and medium-sized manufacturers to support their top line, bottom line, and pipeline. We are part of a national network of 51 manufacturing extension partnerships. This means that we alone can draw a wide variety of partner connections to help Rhode Island manufacturers. Local partnerships such as the Rhode Island Department of Labor, or national partners such as ToolingU. And as I said, I am the program manager for Polaris MEP. So whenever we draw on a third party expert, I act as a project manager to make sure that our Rhode Island small manufacturers are getting the biggest bang for their buck. Studies nationally and specific to Rhode Island show that the labor market is painfully tight for our manufacturers. It's difficult to find skilled workers, and it's becoming harder to keep the workers you have from leaving. Your company's future really depends on both hiring and retaining, and that's painfully tight in this labor market right now. So on the hiring side, there are a number of programs working to promote manufacturing careers and expanding the pipeline for tomorrow, including several created by Polaris MEP, like our Fast Track program. But you can actually influence the retention today. And how? Lindsay, can you share your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Kayla. I'm going to run through a couple of strategies for retaining manufacturing employees. Some are new, some are common sense, and all proven. So we are going to go over there. Here we are. Okay, so increased engagement. So there's a couple stats on the slide right now that are probably of interest to the companies. Employee engagement does not mean you're making everybody happy all the time, but if you have a more engaged workforce, you are going to be more profitable. You're going to have lower levels of absenteeism. You're going to have more retention. Engaged employers are more likely to care about the company and its goals. And if you, so there's different ways to keep people engaged. So we want to talk about some of the ways that we can do that. And making sure that you're holding on to your employees, that might mean that you have to upskill some of them as well. So you are upskilling and developing your employees and attacking their skills gap. Development, so training or upskilling of your incumbent workers is proven to increase engagement. So that's one of the best ways to engage your employees. I know I'm not telling the HR pros here anything that they do not know already. Payroll is your biggest expense. Your workers are your biggest asset. your employees are your biggest assets. So improving retention and your bottom line can be very closely linked with upskilling. So for one strategy for retention is online learning, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking a lot about today. In the past, we had to do everything in person. You had to get a teacher on site, or you had to move to some sort of training environment where you were going to be able to access all the trainings. One size fits all sort of approach. And certain workers might not be able to learn at their own speed. If somebody was ahead, everybody's not coming in at the same level. It's like when you're onboarding a new employee, right? Not everybody is starting on day one together. You were kind of doing a rolling training when you onboard an employee. So training tools have to fit that. Or you might be a manufacturer who would normally ask an experienced worker to teach a new one. Billy might be a fantastic CNC operator, but you didn't hire him for his teaching skills. Or Barbara could be terrific at GD&T, but doesn't know how to program a cobot, and that's where your company's heading. So we're going to look at new technologies and options for that can make training more personalized, individually led, asynchronous, that can fit into your growth plans for your employee, and some resources that might be able to help you develop those growth plans. Greg, can you take a minute to explain some of the toolingusme options, please?
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Sertman. I'm a senior workforce education strategist for toolingusme, and I'm really excited about spending a little bit of time with you today to talk about toolingusme, and more importantly, how online learning, how you can take advantage of online learning. So for the past over 20 years, I can basically put 99% of an employer's needs in buckets. And my hope is that you can resonate with at least one of these items and hopefully more. So what's happening right now is that manufacturers, if you're like most manufacturers, you are desperate for talent, particularly at the frontline level. And you may be hiring folks that have no to little experience in the manufacturing sector at all. And one of those reasons is we can help you onboard that new employee by laying out a 30, 60, 90-day learning plan to get them the fundamentals that they need to be safe and productive as quickly as possible. The second bullet there is we have just about 600 different online courses. So any combination of those courses may be appropriate for different employees in different positions, even at different skill levels and tenure. And so you're able to pull together any combination of those 600 courses, really nail it right on the head, and for that employee's individual development. That third bullet is the blended hybrid delivery, where manufacturers are asking themselves, how do I complement? Maybe you have a good mentorship program. Maybe you have some good formal training that you deliver. Online learning is a way to complement that so that the learner is getting a more hybrid blended approach. You may also have initiatives where you may need all your employees, regardless of role, to brush up on a couple of topics. And online learning is a nice way to roll that out and make folks accountable for completing classes like OSHA 101 or cleanliness in the workplace. Happens to be a fairly popular one these days. We support different apprenticeship programs related to the manufacturing sector, and we do align our content to the DOL standards around apprenticeships so that your apprentices, if you're considering that, are able to complete a good chunk of their what they call RTI, related technical instruction, online. And then last but not least, if any of these industry-specific credentials are important to you, we do align to several of those different third-party credentials. And I have a slide coming up that will show you what that means. But this is what I call my why slide. And hopefully that you can resonate with as many of these bullet points as possible, because if you can, I think you're going to be excited about the rest of this presentation. So who's toolingusme? I just want to acknowledge that Tooling U is a part of a larger organization called SME. SME used to stand for the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. We like to go by the acronym right now, but we're really a nonprofit advocacy for the manufacturing sector across North America. I just want to briefly acknowledge our other 4 business units. Our SME Foundation, they exist to really get our youth in America more engaged in STEM-related careers, and they have a ton of different scholarship opportunities. Just last year, we gave out around 600 scholarships with an average award of about 2,500 each. Our events group puts on 8 to 10 different showcases across North America. These are the largest manufacturing events in the country. Our largest one is FabTech, which is usually every fall. There's only 3 conference centers that can even host us due to the size of the event, where we draw in over 50,000 attendees over the course of that week. Our media group puts out different publications to let folks know what's happening, what's the latest and greatest of what's going on in technology and equipment and other items in the manufacturing sector. And then last but not least, our membership group, which is a combination of either our professional members, which are usually business owners or C-level executives, or our student chapters, which live at community colleges and universities across the country. And then we have Tooling USME, which I want to talk to you a little bit about today. So who do we work with at Tooling USME? We work with over 800 academic institutions across the country, including technical high schools, community colleges, and universities. And in that model, we are supplementing many of the programs that they already deliver. So think of programs like machining, welding, mechatronics, maintenance technician, robotics. And then we also work directly with manufacturers, over 5,000 in the United States. And we're proud to say we work with more than half of the Fortune 500 manufacturers in the country. So yes, we're working with like the Caterpillars, Eatons, and the Boeings of the world, but we also support your 25-person machine shop out in rural Rhode Island. More recently, we've been spending a lot of time with the MEP network across the United States, and we're really proud of our relationship with the Polaris MEP to support the manufacturers across Rhode Island. From a content perspective, most of our content is technical in nature. We have right around 600 courses right now, and we support a lot of those areas, including welding, machining, engineering, mechatronics, maintenance, composites. And most of our development these days are in the area of what folks are calling smart manufacturing or Industry 4.0. To the next slide, please. We did receive 2 large Department of Defense grants, primarily for curriculum development. So every month we release 2 to 3 new classes, typically in 1 or more of these areas. The latest thing that we're doing is this year, we're just launching a series of virtual reality labs. So this is an opportunity for students and employees to experience our content and perform tasks in a virtual environment, and then we get to score you on those. Wanted to walk you through really quick the user experience. I mentioned we have around 600 courses. Each one of those courses is about a 1-hour learning experience. That starts with the pre-assessment, so we can gauge what that knowledge is going into that class. Then it launches the class, which is a combination of audio, video, text, simulation, and quizzes. We're trying to hit different types of learners in different ways. And at the end of every class, we do ask that you complete a final exam so we can capture another point in time your knowledge. And what's really cool is when you do the pre and the post, you can really see the value of the difference and how much we've been able to move the needle on knowledge transfer in just that short period of time. And then we capture that through our learning management system, where you have a ton of different administrative options. I suspect if you're going to want a handful of your employees leveraging online learning, you leaders at manufacturers will want to have some type of access to go in to see how your employees are performing on a regular basis, to see if you need to take action or challenge them more. So you can do things like change permissions, pull reports, create custom programs, you really get a ridiculous level of reporting, and then you're able to complete or print completions of certificates of completion for each and every class that your employee. I mentioned certifications, and just wanted to show you some of the credentialing bodies that we align to that offer several different credentials. Not a coincidence that we support some of our own credentials at SME. I do want to highlight one credential in particular because this is our newest and probably most popular credential right now based on what's happening in the country. A certified manufacturing associate is a very entry-level certification that someone can earn. It's really grounded in foundational skills related to safety, applied math, inspection, and several courses that are the intro courses to several different functional areas. So this is a nice onboarding curriculum for a new employee that is new to the manufacturing sector, that's looking to really get grounded in some nice fundamentals. Now, we don't require you to take these 25 classes, but these 25 courses do help you prepare for the certification exam, which is a separate exam with a 2-hour time limit with 75 questions. What we're doing is we're pulling 3 questions from each of these topics, and we require a 70% pass rate. And I believe, Lindsay, you're already talking to some manufacturers about this credential. Is that right?
Yeah, Greg, thank you. We have one of the things in trying to broaden the workforce pipeline. So the folks that are going into the jobs that you have open and that are really in high demand to fill right now, are looking for some of the entry-level folks that they can train. And so while we have existing training programs, we're really working with ToolingU to supplement those and make sure that there's a foundation that's almost universal across some of our training programs. So that, you know, anyone coming out of our CNC programs, our assembly and entry-level manufacturing programs, even the welding and other machining programs that are coming over, or direct referrals from our community organization partners. This has been an area where, oh, we've seen this credential. Some of the companies are looking at this and like, we'd like to hire people that have been through this program. That also means that we have folks that are coming in, applying for a program, but don't have any of these fundamental skills yet. They're just like, they're looking to work, and that's very valuable in today's job market, right? Somebody that's willing to work and coming and applying to your company, like if they want to work and show up every day, like you probably want to hire them. This is a great way to get them to that entry level part if they don't necessarily have any manufacturing experience, or just to run them through and see where they are. It's also a certification where, you know, we can put people through it out of our CTE program, the career and tech programs, or our other training programs. And then we can say, okay, this is where, you know, this is the certification that they've already passed. It gives you something with an idea of where people are coming into a job. So that's one area where people have asked for our entry-level candidates come through, but also to start training with these licenses so that they know where they're, like production folks that are, you know, more recently onboarded, or at least have exposure to all of these different areas of practice. Greg.
Thanks, Lindsay. I do want to address a question that just came in. If you go back to the last slide, you know, what if you think you already have a good handle on some of these topics? What I would recommend in that scenario is that you go right to the final exam, that particular class. It's going to be around 10 to 15 questions. If you're scoring at 80% or higher on the final exams, I would say you're probably in good shape, and you don't really need to take that 1-hour course. This way, you're only spending 5 minutes on that topic instead of an hour. So that's just a way to kind of maximize use of your time as you're preparing for this credential. Next slide. I did mention that we support apprenticeship programs and do qualify to meet the requirements for that RTI related technical instruction. And I do have a list of occupational roles that are at the bottom of this slide. And we support more than these 8, but these are the 8 we happen to have the most content for. So you can get a bigger chunk of your RTI requirements covered with these 8 particular roles according to the DOL standard. I like to call this my Shark Tank slide because I like watching that show Shark Tank on Friday or Saturday evenings. There's always a moment in that show where Mr. Wonderful, who typically sits in the middle, he's saying something like, what makes you guys different than everyone else? And so this is my answer to that question. Our content is 100% industry driven. So we have a team of 25 to 30 designers and developers. They're not necessarily content experts in topics like machining, welding. We do hire subject matter experts to guide us throughout the entire development process of a new course and even a revision of an existing course. So from that aspect, our content is 100% industry driven. We do have a nice learning management system that comes with the subscriptions, and this is the vehicle for which we deliver our courses and then allow you folks to be able to track and manage your training implementation. It's a great tool. We don't charge extra for it. It's just a nice tool to have as you're rolling out different online training implementations. We understand that everyone's a little bit different. I want to say that RLMS does a very nice job of being as flexible as possible to do what you need it to. Our courses are available on your smartphone, which was kind of a game changer almost 2 years ago, because a good chunk of our audience are millennials and younger these days, and they just let's be honest, they just like to be on their phone. So if you can't beat them, join them. So while they're on their phone, we say, why don't you take some of these courses while you're on your phone? It's actually a pretty good learning experience. I've been actually taking the last handful of courses that I've taken on my mobile phone, sitting on my couch. And last but not least, you will be assigned a client success manager so that you have the level of support that you need, not only at the very beginning, but throughout the duration of your subscription. And we don't really care if you have 1 employee or 1,000 employees on our system. You are going to have access to our client success manager, who is really there to support you and train you on the learning management system if you want to be really involved in it, or if you don't, we can do things as simple as providing you quarterly reports. That's what I'd like to say separates ourselves from our competition. How do you purchase online subscriptions, or how do you get started? One way to do it is through individual subscriptions. So how this works is you identify a handful of employees that want to participate. You figure out which of these 5 individual subscriptions is going to be most appropriate for them. And it could be different for each employee based on their specific needs and how much time they have available for training on an ongoing basis. Once we figure that out, we can select the right subscription for them. All of our individual subscriptions have unique start and end dates, depending on the type of subscription that you choose. And typically, manufacturers like to start with this, especially if they're new to online learning and or tooling USME, just to kind of prove out that it's going to be effective. You may want to prove it out with 5 employees instead of 100 employees right out of the gates. Slide, please. And once you, assuming you're a decent sized manufacturer with a minimum of 50 employees, and you're proving out that this works, you may want to consider an annual license at that point. Why? Because the economies of scale get a lot better for you from a pricing perspective. And it's a great way to get more people engaged who may have different needs across your entire organization, depending on role and experience and what they're looking to do in the future. I also want to mention that if you happen to have your own third-party learning management system, which some of the, particularly the larger manufacturers seem to have, we're able to push our content into your third-party LMS as long as it's what they call SCORM or AICC compliant. This way you can take the courses on your LMS. Now, the only thing you're going to lose in that model is the ability to take the courses on your smartphone. That's really tied to our LMS. So with a minimum of 50 users, this is probably the way to go, just from a pure cost perspective. At this point, I'm going to flip this presentation back over to Lindsay, but I'll be available for questions for the duration of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. So we're going to talk a little bit about just if you want to get started, how does that look? So the very first thing would be to connect with Kayla and define the package you want to need, the number of trainees, the timing. We're actually going to tell you about a trial that we can access. So if you're thinking about that, you'll hear more in a minute. But in terms of moving forward with this, if you're like sure you want to move forward, you would contact Kayla, discuss the trainees and licensing package, and then she'll put together a proposal for online training. If you wanted to apply for a grant, like an incumbent worker training grant, traditionally around 50%, this would be the point you would do that. That will be walked through with you through the Polaris MEP team. The ROI on this is going to be great regardless of whether you apply for a grant or not. So we've had really good feedback from the companies on this. Once you sign the proposal that Kayla's put together for you, you will coordinate to provide the names and emails of all the trainees and the in-house administrator, who is going to be the person that tracks progress, sees where their employees are doing. It's very user-friendly. Don't worry about that. Tooling you will onboard you and assist you setting up the classes you want to take, whether it's part of that certified manufacturing associate classes or you're tailoring something specific to your company in a different area. Those will all be preloaded, and your administrator will know how to work through it. And Polaris MEP is going to support you through the onboarding and training for administrators. And, if you want to be able to add your own classes and everything, you'll have the capacity to do all of that. Then monthly check-ins are highly recommended, but honestly, that's up to you. As the client, you're going to decide how often you want to have a check-in. At the very least, we would have the report that comes out to you from toolingusme that will tracks your quarterly progress. Next. Oh yeah, and then sorry, I missed one thing on that last slide. Scheduling for credentials. It is not embedded into the course. So the certified manufacturing associate is something that is done through SME, but we're setting it up separately. So you take the course, you're ready for the course, and then we will schedule testing with toolingusme for those optional credentials, which we are just starting to do with our own trainees. So Kayla and I have been working with Tooling U to identify some of the key functional areas that are in response to what our employers have said they need. So we've included those here. They include smart manufacturing, machining, industrial safety, and we've secured a 2-week trial account through toolingusme that lets you try, whoever is managing the program, to try a few classes in these areas, decide if it's right for your employees and for their individual plans. We would still follow the workflow from the last page to get everyone onboarded, and that way you get familiar with that process. So I just want to take a minute. Are there any questions? And yeah, Kayla's email's right there, and we'll be getting that after as well. But are there any questions that we should address before we move on?
Nothing's come through in the chat, but please do use the chat feature if you guys have questions. We'd love to hear them.
Okie dokie. Okay. Improving return on investment. So we're talking about investment, I think. Just in terms of training, this is one area that is going to be a better return on investment than a lot of other options out there. We understand that your investment in training, your time is money. So how can we improve that ROI? So that is one way to do that is through state funded grants. So spending less and Polaris MEP receives funds in partnership with the state of Rhode Island. So what used to be traditionally administered right through the governor's workforce board, they now get us a pot of money to help with the applications for manufacturing related incumbent worker training. So we can plan out what that will cost and see if this type of investment would be eligible for a grant. So we're definitely the experts in that for the partnership with the state and the governor's workforce board. So other ways to spend less and invest in training. So there are one of the benefits. This is the Phoenix partnership. So this is a lean focused incumbent worker training, focusing on upskilling incumbent workers and decreasing turnover. We do have data that folks that have gone through this program. I think we're in the 11th cohort now of this, have stayed on at a 70% higher rate. This is based on a case study from last year that retained them at a level of 70% higher than folks that they were not doing incumbent worker training for. There's a small sample size, but we've had really good anecdotal feedback as well in terms of the investment in the lean manufacturing courses. So this has been open to all Rhode Island manufacturers. Has been right now. There's a fully funded one happening. So where we partner with our training providers and some of our in-house trainers who are really amazing. And this content was developed specifically by manufacturers for Rhode Island manufacturers to meet the needs, the lean training needs of your organization. And tends to be five courses that are broken into 9 sessions. And is offered on site. So we currently have a remote option happening right now for the Phoenix Level 100, which is the Intro to Lean, program. And there is not a new one scheduled for the one where we go to New England Tech or do it online, but there are also options to do it in-house. And so some people that are on this call are also doing it. So Becky just threw in the chat that Annie and Nathan are great. Gale Tool and Engineering is currently doing this for their in-house team after sending some folks to our multiple employer one. They've decided to bring it in-house and they're doing really well with that. And are actually signing up for a second cohort of their thing. So content and feedback from the trainees and from the HR leads are very positive. There's a lot of different ways to bring this program to you. Talk to us. Happy to answer questions about it. Oh yeah, it's Spanish courses as well. Oh, that's for I think that's specifically for the. I think that comment. Sorry if I'm confused, but I think that comment was specifically for the Tooling U.
Yeah, I'll take that one real quick.
Yeah.
The Certified Manufacturing Associate credential. We recently finalized our mapping for that, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. All 25 of those courses are available in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking population. And if you're interested in taking the exam, our exam is going to be is planned to begin being available this summer in Spanish. You can do that 100% in Spanish if that credential is important.
Thanks, Greg. So I mentioned this a little bit, but the incumbent worker training grant, in order to increase competitiveness, reduce turnover. This is very similar to the GWB incumbent worker training grant that the state has, helping manufacturers to close the skills gap, stay competitive, hoping they'll go after new market opportunities and be able to upskill their incumbent workers in order to achieve those, adapt to new technologies like automation. So if you have some production folks and you're bringing in a new cobot, and instead of you want to upskill those folks to be able to run those cobots, that's a really great opportunity for the company and also for the individuals. There are certain conditions that are part of this that weren't so stringent in the past. So the state is really interested in understanding that as the state is investing in providing grants for training and upskilling, that also the employees are seeing some results from that investment. So that if you make a sizable investment in training and the state is helping to pay for that, that then the employees are seeing something in the terms of an actual credential, like something like the Certified Manufacturing Associate credential. And that as a result, related to the training, it doesn't have to be the same day, but there is some sort of raise or promotion. Now, not everybody's going to receive a promotion after a month of training. So it is a reasonable, it depends on the length of training and how much it is. For example, if you do a 3-month license or a 6-month license, okay, and you apply for a grant, then you would be willing to say, okay, at the end of this program, once our trainees have shown that they've mastered these skills, that have passed it, they've gotten the credential, that as a result of that, at some point in the near future, they're going to receive a wage increase as a result of that. So it doesn't have to be the same day training ends. Not everybody gets a raise the same day they finish a new training or credential, but that there's something in the future as a result of said training. So there are other, so for Department of Defense contractors, there's also other funding options. So Synedia has a incumbent worker training grant that, so specific to the defense pipeline. These skills are like tooling U classes, the Certified Manufacturing Associate could very well be eligible for those, and they're really easy to apply to. They aren't administered through Polaris MEP, but we're very happy to facilitate that and help you with the application and just get you connected. And then we can still onboard you in the exact same way. The best way, funding sources are going to change throughout the year. So at any point, the best way to understand what's available right now, whether it's for, Phoenix training or incumbent worker training or specific just tooling you, just as one thing, just reach out and we'll be able to tell you, keep you up to date on what's available at the time that you actually want to go forward to it. Okay. For small manufacturers, now we're moving on to a tool that can be used in partnership with toolingusme. Polaris MEP, in partnership with several other MEPs, has developed the Human Capital Barometrics. It is a tool to assess your employees and understand and help create a development plan specific to the employees. So it is available to everyone in Rhode Island. And it's really about helping manufacturers make smart investments into their workforce and to keep their employees happy and understand what the employees have been looking for, if there's engagement, there's buy-in, or how to increase engagement and buy-in. The evaluation is called Human Capital Barometrics because that's the instrument that we use to forecast the future work thing, just like you would forecast the weather. So like a barometrics, taking a look at what the situation is going to be, what the metrics are going to be in the future. That was smoother when I practiced it. So just pretend I did that a lot smoother, everyone. So skills gap assessment tool that increases employee engagement. So and this is at no cost to the companies. It's something that we really think is a fabulous option to do in partnership with toolingusme, so you can help design the classes that you're going to need and divide those individual paths. Wouldn't it be nice if you knew that 3 of your production employees really thought they needed training in some area and you didn't know that? and then the supervisor thinks they need a training in some other area, and there's a disconnect, and that can lead to some dissatisfaction with employee engagement. You'll be able to go through the survey, get employees more engaged. There's the assessment, there's a survey that is available in English and Spanish, which helps us get feedback right from your employees. If you agree that we can submit that to go in partnership with the tool. And you will be able to look at the criticality of each skill that your employees have and see where you assess it and see where that aligns up with training recommendations. We'll guide you through the process of analyzing the data and making recommendations for where your employees are today, where you need them to be tomorrow, and what kind of investments might help you reach those shared goals. Right now, we have just started rolling this out in Rhode Island, so it's complimentary to anyone that wants to complete the event survey that our marketing team is going to send out right after this. It's a new tool, a new retention strategy. We're very excited about it, and have gotten really great feedback from the companies that have used it so far. It's a strategic tool to identifying skills gap and guide you future incumbent worker training investments and increasing employee engagement. It will help you understand how happy your employees are doing the work they currently are doing, whether they would recommend your company to other people. So one great recruitment tool is word of mouth, right? Folks bringing in relatives or friends. So this is a good tool that helps you understand where your company is and how you could improve some of those recruitment techniques, if you will. Yeah, so that's it. I think that was a lot of information. Hope it wasn't confusing.
That was a lot of information, but really good information. Thank you, guys. So please use the chat tool, or if you want, just go ahead and put up your hands and unmute yourself. This is a small group, and so we get to have conversations more directly. And Kayla will be moderating us as we go along. Kayla, looks like there's a comment from Becky.
All right, so Becky says she's trying to find ways to engage. So we have a mix of younger and kind of the old cronies style staff that are set in their ways. So is there a way that you would engage the two? We actually often find this a lot right now within our workforces is you get the younger staff that comes in, whether it's the millennials or the newer generation versus the generation that has been in the manufacturing facility forever, that could tell you the product, how the product's going to be made that day by the air quality within the building. And it's kind of a silly thing, but we often struggle with that pairing between the two and how to make them communicate and how to better suit that. So do you have any advice on how our manufacturers can leverage that relationship?
If I can add, what we're finding is that, and this may be true for everyone, but millennials and younger, they love to have conversations about their career pathways. So as managers and leaders, we need to be proactive about having that conversation with everyone that reports. What do you enjoy about your role today? What other roles are you curious about? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years? Be proactive about that conversation, because their response to that is some good information on what type of learning pathway that you can put them on based on the needs of your organization and aspirations of your employees. Be able to put those two together is very impactful, and it really gets them.
Becky, I think considering and I'm a little bit more familiar just because Gil has been doing some training and has recruits out of some of our new hire programs as well. I think the human capital barometrics would be a good thing to do. A way to engage conversations between the generational gap as well. There are you are giving feedback on the employees, and also the survey really gets to understand, like, some people don't want to learn anymore. Some people are very happy to do the job they're doing. But wouldn't it be great if, if you got some feedback from them on something they like or don't like, or think about their skills, or an area where they might want to actually do something, and might want to improve some of their skill sets. Or if you found out that an older, more experienced employee is very closely aligned in goals with one of your new hires, there might be an opportunity for mentorship there, or it might be just some other upskilling that you are investing in, and you're doing a lot of training right now. So wouldn't it be great if you could steer that training very specifically towards each of the employees? And you're doing that in a lot of ways, specifically at Gill right now, but you're doing that. It might be a good way to help you organize some of those trainings throughout the year, and see where tooling new trainings could supplement some of that information, especially since you're bringing on new employees in the near future that are going to be starting training. So I'm happy to do that with you in the coming weeks, and obviously anyone else.
Awesome. And so I got a couple of direct messages here. This question is for Greg. Greg, how do you pair online learning up with existing training?
Yeah, so it starts with a good understanding of what you may have going on already, down to the individual. What role are they in? How are they performing in that role? Or it could be they're a rock star in that role and they're preparing for their next role. So it's really a lot of the, around the situation that the employee is in, the needs of the organization, and then that where that person is related to that. So it's really a conversation to figure that out. A lot of times we can look at a job description, really glean from that some of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are important for that role, and make recommendations on different courses or combination of courses that are gonna hit that right on the head. If you do show me a job description, though, I'm gonna ask you if it's been updated in the past 5 or 6 years. Because sometimes I'll get a very old job description from like 15 years ago. So it's really working through that. And we understand that, every situation is unique. If we work with 10 different manufacturers who have different levels of machinists, that competency mapping could look different from employer to employer. So we treat every manufacturer as unique unless told otherwise.
So this kind of goes along with that too. Can the courses be done during lunchtime, and can the exams be taken on their own time?
Yeah, and no, those are answers that are up to the employer at the end of the day. I usually find myself talking with employers to challenge them on both ends. Number one is, can you spare an hour or two a week to get them off the floor or off the production line so that they can take a couple courses per week? And then number two is the whole carrot approach, where maybe there's a reward, maybe a $25 gift card after they complete, the first 10, 12, 15 classes that you have identified particular to their role or what they're looking for. So, and you can definitely do a combination of both those. But, it's really about, giving that employee the opportunity to be able to take.
Perfect. And Lindsay,
I would just add to that. It is up to every company, but the best practices in incumbent worker training are to make sure that the company knows that you're investing in their future to increase engagement and keep them on board, which would mean that you're investing in them so that you're willing to provide time for them to do upskilling within. Now, if you have a very restricted production schedule, there might be, some companies are even providing like an hour of overtime for certain days on a certain week. I'm not suggesting that that's the right way to do it. I'm just suggesting that it does go a very long way. Employees have said that their company is showing an investment in them, and that's going to be making sure that they have time to do it, is going to be really critical for them to feel like fully engaged in this process and not something that they're doing outside. It also means they're thinking about how they're going to apply those skills at your company, which means if they're doing it outside, if they're taking a class that's not affiliated, they might be thinking about, okay, well, my company doesn't have a growth plan for me. So I'm going to do this class and then I'm going to look somewhere else, right? And that's exactly what you don't want. But your company is investing in you because they're hoping for a growth plan, and you're talking to them about what that growth plan looks like. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be promoted in the next month, but it means that there is a longer term path that has them moving up, and as they master certain skills, and allows them. And that doesn't mean they're moving into a different role. It could be moving from machinist 1 to a machinist 2. Which just, they might be still filling the same production area, but they have increased their expertise. They're able to train other folks. So, really think about, we're trying to help companies think about where their employees are coming from in terms of what they're thinking about for their future in order to help retention and engagement.
Awesome. Lindsay, this next question is for you as well. So the human capital barometric skills gap assessment, is that available to MEP centers engaged just with Tooling U?
I think that is coming through specifically through the our Polaris MEP. I'm sorry, I was a little confused by the question.
So I think I can answer this one. So the answer is no, you don't need to be associated with Tooling U. You don't have to do a project with Tooling U to take the to have Lindsay and our team come in for the human capital barometrics. So at any point, and I think that kind of rolls us into the next steps. If we want to go to that slide, we can talk about next steps. But so at any point in the next, in the next steps here, and I'll kind of describe what's going to happen for you moving forward, but please watch out for your email box. You're going to have a event survey, and you'll have feedback on our, any feedback that you can give us on our programs are going to continuously improve us and make these, webinars better. So we really, truly appreciate it. But anyone who fills out the survey, and this will answer your question, will get a complimentary human capital biometrics assessment done. So you don't have to do a Tooling U project in order to get that assessment done. So just by filling out the survey, Lindsay and our team will reach out to you, and we will schedule that assessment for you. As well as, so in addition to filling out that survey, getting the assessment done, you will also get a no-cost 2-week trial to Tooling U, which is pretty exciting. And that will allow you to take some of the courses for the 2 weeks and see if it's the right fit for your company. These will both improve your retention for the future. So we truly, truly encourage you to take steps forward and take advantage of these opportunities.
Okay, that might be worth mentioning. The biometrics assessment usually takes about an hour for each 15 to 20 employees. Especially, we can send you the tool in advance to fill in some of the critical information that will make it a lot quicker. It is more of a conversation. It's an interaction between us and the company. So it's not going to take you weeks to do this assessment. It is, once we've put in some of the critical information, it really is like an hour per 20 employees. You also don't have to do your entire staff. You can do a department. Like, so if you're one of our larger partners, you might want to do a CNC department or a robotics department. So we can do it by department, not necessarily by the whole company.
Kayla, I'm afraid that you are currently muted.
Oh, I was saying.
And so we didn't get to hear any of your gems of knowledge.
No, I didn't
start
have
all
any.
over again.
I was just saying I wanted to check the chat before we moved on, but it looks like you got us all caught up on all the questions in chat. So I appreciate that. Fabulous. So I want to thank everyone. So thank you for attending. Thank you, Greg and Lindsay, for all of the information today. And we know more now about retention strategies and the benefits of our ROI on online learning. And we have new tools guiding us for our investments in creating new learning pathways. So we truly appreciate you guys for that knowledge. And please feel free to reach out to me at kviveros@polarismep.org. And, if you feel comfortable with any of our project managers that you've worked with before. I know Becky mentioned that she's worked with several of our staff members before. Feel free to reach out to them with any projects or anything that you're moving forward with for the future. So until next time, we're really excited to chat with you. Again, the survey will be hitting your inbox shortly. And once it does, as you fill it out, you'll be receiving the slide deck from today, as well as those two offers for you to help out with your future investments and retention strategies. So thank you again for coming. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.